Hello, welcome back to another video, and today we got some lovely hero. Hey, y'all can't see that shit. I'm blocking it. The White House just destroyed payment processors. Major W for gamers and Steam against censorship. Let's get into it.
Welcome back, guys. Hope your week has been amazing. And all this
Hell
news,
yeah,
of
it
course,
has.
regarding internet censorship and government surveillance lately has been a bit of a roller coaster. We'll get some good news and pushing back against that stuff. For example, the other day talking about how the
Oh
White House was
shit.
warning Ofcom in the UK to stop trying to pressure American companies with censorship. But then
Yes,
you never know
sir.
what to expect. The next day we get like a bunch of bad news.
Then we get the Blockbeard Act and whatnot, or not the Blockbeard Act, the Blockbeard bill that wants to push censorship and whatnot. And it's like great, like it's right fucking here. I got it actually. This little article that I saw from Smash JT's video right here. U.S. Senate introduces new pirate site blocking bill, Blockbeard, which realistically is just a small way for them to see how they can push their form of control. Here we have the full-on bill that I'll also be leaving down in the comments, or not in the comments, in the description if y'all want to go read this and see what this is all about. But essentially, they're supposedly claiming that they want to, with this bill, that they want to, go after piracy sites because it affects it affects the bottom dollar of these major corporations. And you can see that this is primarily a corporate thing because the only people that are actually backing this are CEOs. Like right here, rights shareholder groups have also responded positively to the bill. Mitch Glazer, CEO of the Music Industries RIAA, thanks the senators for their effort to protect consumers and rights shareholders. How exactly does this protect consumers? Oh no, consumers are able to listen to our music for free on a third party site. That's bad because we're the ones who are actually being affected. But yeah, anywho, let's get back into the video.
With, for example, the EU now trying to propose regulations and
Yeah, that was
surveillance to read
insane,
everyone's
dude.
chat messages. Well, today,
They're already doing that. That's the issue. They're already doing that. People in the UK are already getting arrested for their own messages in private Discord servers with their friends. Like, that's already happening. This just gives them like a stronger threshold on all that shit.
we're back with the good news, it seems. This tweet here reading, the Trump administration has officially taken a stance against debanking. That means that soon enough, no
Good.
more Americans will be deprived of being able to hold a bank account because of the opinions they hold. Americans will be free to think independently again, but this directly relates to the whole payment processor situation, for example, with Steam as well, because of the way that
Funny enough, I saw this and I was like, I thought this had gotten passed, the Fair Access to Banking Act, because that's essentially what this is. What this bill entails is that they don't want banks to be able to tell people what they can and can't buy, because that's utterly ridiculous. Like, I'm sorry, why is a bank telling me that I can buy a fucking game on Steam just because it some Karens from Australia complained about it? And when they complained to Steam, Steam essentially told them to fuck right off. We don't care. It's not breaking any laws. So what do? Oh, they go straight to the banks and they're like, look, banks, they're doing this. This is bad morally. And the banks were like, we could see and use this to test the waters and see what we can get away with. It's fucking stupid.
payment processors were facilitating trying to get Steam to remove games. And we saw groups like Collective Shout going after these payment processors. And part of the rhetoric payment processors were using, for example, was, oh, this is a reputational risk. Oh, this
That's so
damages our
stupid.
reputation. So now we're going to try to go after Steam to get them to remove it.
That damages your reputation, but fucking allowing people to buy OnlyFans is doesn't. Like, bro, little Tay made like what, $1 million the moment she turned 18 because a bunch of fucking pedophiles were waiting for her to turn 18 so that way they could beat their meat to her. Like, and payment processors don't block that. They won't block that. They won't go after sites like OnlyFans that actually harms women. But they'll go after Steam because fictional video game and fictional woman bad. It's a stupid argument when you see how they'll ignore this, which is obviously way worse than what's going on with Steam.
Things, or they go less directly and they go through banks to try and pressure
Yep.
Steam in that manner and then have some sort of plausible deniability. So, skipping ahead a little bit, here's the tweet that we just had on screen here about the Trump administration, and we can see the same user quote tweets that tweet and specifically adds on to how it relates to Steam as we were just going over. So, we'll stick with that and then we'll read the details.
Hopefully, with this being put in play, Steam removes that stupid fucking rule they added, the 15th one, that says that if a game doesn't align with fucking payment processors, it'll be removed. Hopefully, they get rid of that shit, because realistically, that shouldn't even be a thing.
In that other thread. So, the follow up saying, in case you don't understand what this does, one effect is that it will help to prevent payment processors from going after sites like itch.io and platforms like Steam to remove adult content. The Trump administration is launching an assault on quote-unquote reputational risk by name, just like we were discussing a moment ago. All right, so
That's
as
actually
mentioned,
very
now
good.
we'll go back to this thread. We already read the first part of it, scrolling down to the second part and the rest.
Hey.
User goes on to say, the executive order begins with some background. Americans, often at the behest of government officials, have been subject to the loss of access to financial services. That often meant having no access to bank accounts, debit and credit cards, investment tools, and so on.
Yeah, I mean, just look at what Canada did when the truckers started protesting. Canada froze all their banks and all their assets, so they quite literally couldn't do anything. They were essentially starving and killing off the working class, which was the truckers, all because the truckers didn't agree with the stupid shit that they were doing and the stupid laws that they were pushing. And that's essentially what they're trying to do here as well. They'll use this to test the waters, the video game stuff, and be like, oh, well, if we could get away with that, we could get away with anything. And thank God that the government is actually pushing back against this stuff. Because realistically, no one should be able to freeze your bank accounts or freeze your assets just because you disagree with them politically. That's some petty as fuck shit, and it should be illegal, in my opinion, to do that. Because you're essentially depriving people of their means to quite literally sustain themselves and keep on living.
The highlight areas in this screenshot here from the executive order says, financial institutions have engaged in unacceptable practices to restrict law-abiding individuals and businesses' access to financial services on the basis of political or religious beliefs or lawful business activities. The federal government suggested that such institutions flag individuals who made transactions related to companies like Cabela's and Bass Pro Shop, or who made peer-to-peer payments that involved terms like Trump or MAGA,
Yeah, that's
even though
insane,
there was no
dude.
specific evidence tying those individuals to criminal conduct. Bank
Like, bro, I believe Leaflet said this as well. She said that, that banks and payment processors already make it very difficult for people to buy like ammunition, guns, and guns attachments, which is, in my opinion, should also be illegal, given that you're essentially infringing on the American people's Second Amendment right to the right to bear arms. Like, how is that fucking fine? Like, you realistically, as a payment processor, shouldn't even be able to do anything other than, oh, you want to buy this and it's totally legal? Okay, go for it. Oh, you want to buy this, but this is illegal? No, you can't do that. That's realistically the amount of shit they should be able to do. But instead, they're trying to they're trying to move the goalpost and see how far they can push it, and they're trying to redraw the lines in the sand, thinking that they can get away with it. And thank God that the government is coming in like a wave, just destroying the fucking lines and being like, no, you can't do that. Get the fuck back on the safe side.
Regulators have used supervisory scrutiny
Know your
and other
place,
influence
bitch.
over regulated banks to direct or otherwise encourage politicized or unlawful banking activities. And then it gets to the meat. We want to stop this because it is anti-freedom. Financial institutions should not be able to stop Americans from holding whatever views they want. It's not their business.
Yeah,
so
it's
they're being
not.
asked to stay out of it. highlighted area here, saying it's the policy of the U.S. that no American should be denied access to financial services because of their constitutionally or statutorily protected beliefs, affiliations, or political views. You may ask, doesn't this infringe on banks' rights to not do business with people they don't want to?
Not
No, this is like the
necessarily.
situation with universities and affirmative action. Institutions are being asked not to discriminate if they want to interface with the government. If you want the
Yep.
government to guarantee your loans under its lending programs, follow the government's rules. If you want the government to issue taxpayer funded grants for research, follow the government's rules. These institutions can opt out, but they would lose out. So, what happens first? Firstly, federal banking regulators will tell financial institutions to remove all material in their guidance that leads to debanking. Secondly, they will
That's good. So essentially, they're no longer going to be able to say, "Oh, we disagree with this. We believe it's going to harm people in a certain way," like in the case of video games. Like you can no longer claim that, "Oh, this video game is harmful towards women," when it's quite literally just a fucking video game, and it's not illegal. That's essentially what this is going to lead to. They can no longer implement rules like that, and they'll no longer be able to do stuff like that and limit what people can and cannot buy in terms of video games. Which is why it's a massive W for gamers, because it's like, all right, cool. Now payment processors, at least here in America, can't tell Americans, oh, you can't buy, for example, mouthwashing because it deals with the psychological trauma of the one female character that everyone lost their mind over when you posted some dope ass fan art about it.
rescind regulations that encourage or expressly permit debanking. Highlighted areas here reading within 180 days of the date of this order, each appropriate federal banking regulator shall remove the use of reputation risk or equivalent concepts that could result in politicized or unlawful debanking, as well as any other considerations that could be used to engage in such debanking. The federal banking regulators shall also consider rescinding or amending existing regulations consistent with applicable law to eliminate or amend any regulations that could result in politicized or unlawful debanking. Next, the
That's
Small
good.
Business Administration will give financial institutions.
Essentially, their fucking opinions on what someone on they're essentially saying that their political beliefs and opinions will no longer be grounds for them to implement unconstitutional rules as to what people can and cannot use, their banking services for, which realistically is a good thing because, like I keep saying, who are banks to tell you what you as an adult can and can't consume when it comes to adult content and adult media? Like, realistically, no bank should be saying, "Oh, you can't buy fucking hentai game XYZ because fucking big tittied elf girl is too big tittied and too voluptuous." And that makes flat women IRL envious that fictional tittied elf that doesn't even appear on their own computer because they don't look at this stuff is on your computer. It realistically will stop that from happening, and it'll essentially nuke the whole collective shout thing as well, because collective shout won't be able to like enforce any of this shit anymore here in America, at least. Who knows about the other countries that have this enforcement rule being applied, like Australia.
Notice. The notices are to identify all debanked persons and to reach out to them to tell them that they were debanked and that they can now have their accounts reinstated. Well, it seems like some of these banks are really going to hate doing that. And the highlighted areas
Yep.
here are a bit
But
repetitive. I'll just read the first
But
one.
like it said before, if they don't comply, they'll just lose all their grants and all the funding and all the tax cuts and all that stuff, and they'll essentially have to fend for themselves. And if they don't want to do any of that stuff, guess what? People are going to go start demanding their money to go to another bank that is obviously following the rules and regulations being set forth by the government.
It says, makes reasonable efforts to identify and reinstate any previous clients of the institution or any subsidiaries denied service through a politicized or unlawful debanking action with notice of the reinstatement sent to the victim. Regulators are also ordered to review and punish debankers. In effect, what has been called for here is for institutions to stop the practice of debanking and to expose themselves for debanking.
Yep.
The regulators will also review their books, and if
Oh,
there's
shit.
non-compliance with ending the practice of debanking, the government will prosecute.
Yep.
Debanking is a scourge, and this EO, executive order, is the first step in ending it. If you want to read it, you can find it here. And goes on to say, oh, and NB. The administration knows who to go after because many financial institutions attempted to be debank Trump himself. Excuse me.
Yep.
It was just kind of funny. Let me read that again.
With this passing, if with Trump doing all this, I really hope it means that if this bill does make it past the House, because it already made it past the Senate. So if it makes it past the House and it makes it to Trump's desk, I hope that he vetoes it and says, "Yeah, I'm not signing that shit," and he like shoots it out the window and tells them no. Like genuinely, with all this stuff that's going on, because realistically, the internet should not be censored in any way, shape, or form, and we should not have to be forced to give IDs just to access the internet or watch YouTube or play video games. It's a stupid thing. It's a stupid argument. Especially when the argument is we're doing this to protect kids. Guess what? It's not your job to protect the kids, first and foremost, and stop lying because you never once gave a shit about the kids. You're just using it as a Trojan horse. It's the parents' job to protect the kids. Just because one fucking parent out of 10 is a dumbass and goes out, buys the latest iPad and gives it to their kid without setting up any of the actual parental restrictions, doesn't mean that that doesn't give you the grounds to be like, oh, well, this individual's a bad parent, so we obviously need to intervene and add all this stuff to protect the kids. Like, no. No, you shouldn't do that. Never in a million years.
The administration knows who to go after because many financial institutions attempted to debank Trump himself, and plenty of the people in his administration were also targeted for harassment. It's obvious how this is going to proceed. And then once again, that leads us back to payment processors and gaming stuff, with this tweet saying, yes, this will stop payment processors from denying service to platforms like Steam and sites like itch.io. This EO executive order is going after the whole concept of reputational risk, quote unquote.
Hopefully with that we see not Twitch.io, itch.io put out another article saying that they're finally going to be able to reinstate people being able to buy the games, because as of right now, like we covered in the other video, it's all that you need to essentially have the adult games be free, and you can't make money off of them. And they said that they were going to look for workarounds to that situation. And hopefully with this being in play, they can be like, all right, screw it, we don't have to look for workarounds anymore. We're going to reinstate the payment processors again, because payment processors now have to allow us to use their platforms to allow people to buy video games, while still simultaneously looking for an alternative just in case this shit ever happens again. Hopefully it doesn't, but just in case it does, they should realistically continue looking for a backup or a workaround.
Quote.
It happened once, it could potentially happen again.
Inquiring about that exact thing, saying, is this likely to lead to Visa no longer being allowed to pressure payment providers to pressure Steam to remove specific adult games? With the OP saying, yes, anyone caught trying to manage reputational risk will be punished by regulators. That includes trying to beat up platforms like Steam and itch.io. The Trump administration hates reputational risk as a concept and hates all associated practice. So yeah, great summary from that user. I don't have much else I could possibly add on to that. So I'd like to end with something that's just rather funny. Because as you can see here, we're back.
Oh shit.
She is directly calling out someone who identifies as a lesbian misandrist who's trying to defend collective shout. Oh yeah, what a great position. So the lesbian misandrist goes on to say, the women responsible for removing that horrific video game from Steam are being harassed and doxxed by men and boys.
I didn't know Madame Savvy was a man.
Like, one sentence.
Not gonna lie. Yo. I didn't realize Vera Dark was fucking was also a dude, even though she has a webcam and everything. I didn't know she was a man. Holy shit, dude. I didn't know every fucking female VTuber out there that also covered the collective shout issues was a man. God damn. Like, holy shit, get out of your own ass for a second, dude.
I'm gonna stand up for a collective shout. How much effort am I gonna put into defending them? I'll write like one sentence on Twitter. There's my virtue signal for the day, guys. Do I get my virtue signal points? Like, come on, you could have at least put a little more effort into it, right? But Savvy just calls her out, says, quote unquote, harassed. And it's asking them why they label me a man on their website, or how bullying a bakery for text on a shirt, quote unquote, best buns in town, stops child abuse by in the UK by illegals. No one has
Yeah,
doxed.
that was so stupid. They had their slogan was "best buns in town." It's obviously a play on words with buns, the food bread, and buns as in them booty bun cheeks. Like it's obviously a play on words just to draw in business and whatnot. And it's supposed to be like a goofy little slogan as well. And they go after that, but to quote unquote protect the children, but they'll praise cuties. They'll turn around and they'll praise cuties and say cuties was amazing. Like, explain your logic there. Why aren't they, going after little Tay for, OnlyFans and shit like that the moment she turned 18? Because all that does is incentivize a future generation of young women to go ahead and do the same thing, thinking that they'll be able to make it big, when in reality, it's a bunch of fucking sickos who quite literally just want to see this individual naked the moment they turn 18 because now they're legal. It's stupid as shit.
Them, they provide all info publicly on their websites. They're taking choice away from women, but you won't acknowledge that or engage with it. She wants to ban
Yep.
Amazon from selling daddy chokers, for example, something I, an adult woman, want to buy. Tell me why. Tell me right now she is right, and I am redacted for wanting it. Go on, do it. And so most likely this person will never respond to Savvy, and if
No, they
anything,
won't.
they'll probably just block Savvy, because you know how
Yep.
people like that are. They never want to face.
If they lose an argument, oh, immediate block. If they can't actually defend their take, immediate block, especially when they know that their take is in the wrong. They're like, I'll just block you.
Reality. So yeah, I'll leave it there for today. Let me know what you think about the news regarding this executive order, and house is not looking good for payment processors and the banks that were helping facilitate this corruption and at times fully responsible for it too, and other examples. And then this funny stuff at the end. Hope you enjoyed it all. Thank you for tuning in. If you did enjoy the coverage, please consider liking and or subscribing. Helps out the channel greatly. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the comments here as well as in the next one.
Yeah, all in all, in my opinion, I think that's a very good thing. Huh. That's neato. All in all, I think it's a very good thing. It is a massive W for gamers. I just hope that, that with this being enacted, that means that the block beard bill as well will be shot down if it does make its way past the House and it does land on the president's desk. Hopefully he does, if it does get that far, they immediately deny it. Same with the what's it called? I think it's the yeah, this one, the Online Kids Safety Act. I hope this one also gets shot down as well, because this is also just another Trojan horse under the guise of trying to protect kids from online, when realistically that's a parent's job, not the government's job. Wait, stop. And I hope both of these bills get shot down, but I hope this one does pass. The Fair Access to Banking Act, because that would solidify the what Trump essentially threw in the executive order even harder. So that way, when he's out of office, they can't just remove that executive order with the next president. But yeah, all in all, it's a good thing. Like I said, it is a major win for us gamers, and we can hopefully see the reinstillment of all these games back into places like itch.io and Steam. But with that being said, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, and all that YouTube jazz. And remember to be safe out there. Be careful. I got another fucking citizen notification earlier today about another issue that happened. So I was like, God damn, dude. So yeah, be careful out there. Protect yourselves. And remember to question nothing, believe every... I said that shit backwards. I remember to question everything, believe nothing, and always seek the deeper truth. And I will catch y'all in the next one. Later.